Hello, everyone.
For marketing, animations, still images. We've also done some character animation from time to time. So yeah, but our main focus is architecture.
Awesome. And how did you get into, or what was your interest with architecture? Was it something where you saw a need, or was it something where it was more in line with the skill set, or what sort of led you to understanding or looking at architecture specifically?
Well, it was something that I guess uh, happened naturally after I finished my studies. I was an intern in a architectural studio doing 3D work. Um, I also did some intern as for character animations, but then that studio offered me a job, so I worked with them for a year, and that's how my focus got directed to mainly to architecture. And after that, I kind of just kept going with that. Also doing the other things because I also like them, but just the main focus was that. And yeah.
Cool, cool. And then, so just in terms of architecture, are you who are primarily your clients? Are they typically architectural firms? Are they real estate developers? A little bit of both, maybe some engineers in the mix, or what are some of your clients like?
Mhm. Well, in terms of architecture, it's mostly like, yeah, real estate developers and architects, some interior designers,
Mm.
but mostly architects and developers. And outside of architecture, we have like um, a little bit of everything, like I said, but we've done a lot of work with
Mhm.
furniture companies that are working with their um, catalogs. So for catalogs and for website and for marketing, we've done a lot of images and animations for furniture outside of architecture. So that's our main uh, clients. Yeah.
Got it. And then for the furniture, that's kind of interesting a little bit. So, are your I guess your end customer or client is a furniture company, and then are they are they sort of requesting you to create digital furniture for interior design projects, or are you literally just creating the assets and the 3D assets and handing it to them? Or are you in charge of creating renders, sort of showcasing furniture in different contexts, or how how is furniture, or how are you working with the furniture companies?
Yeah, it's up for the visual part. So the renders, the like I said, the catalogs. So um we've done a lot of like white background, for the basic catalogs, as well as lifestyle, showing the each furniture in in the scene of a living room or an exterior or whatever it might be. And also animations, showcasing the product, the details, again, the lifestyle and stuff like that. But mainly visuals. It's not like we make the 3D models and then we send them to them. It's just visuals for basically for them to sell their products.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
Have you ever considered um, having some sort of, because I know you're kind of just getting into real time. Have you ever considered like an interactive where, maybe people can tap on any piece of furniture, and then since it's a real actual physical item as well, maybe allowing them to learn more about it or purchase it, or have you considered anything like that, or is it primarily visualization at this point?
It's something that we've been thinking about for a while. We just have to see what the perfect product would be.
Mhm.
But it would definitely be something great that probably the clients would love if we can think about how we can make it into Unreal. We've done some 360 interactives, which is like a pre-step before real time,
Mhm.
and clients love it. So yeah, it's definitely something we should look into because I think clients will love it. With actually, like a month ago, we were talking about it with a friend of mine from New York, which has a studio, and we do a lot of work together. And we were talking about a project that we could kind of guide it to real time with products, and having something that you can click it and information pops up, or even it moves, or you can even change it, so like the materials or whatever. So yeah, it's definitely something we're looking into. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, because there could be potentially a lot of interesting use cases coming out of that. But just to kind of understand your pipeline a little bit more, because I want to sort of understand how you're inching your way to real time. So, and also for me, I actually had a studio as well at one point, and we were using primarily Maya and V-Ray for almost everything. So super curious about your pipeline. Are you multiple tools, depends on the project, or do you have a tried and true 3D software that you prefer, or what are your thoughts on pipeline?
Right. Well, if you had a studio that you have to like um, adapt, and you obviously have your main software, but then you have to adapt to whatever the needs of the project are, and sometimes you have to learn something new, maybe it's just for one project. But our main software are 3ds Max and Corona. We used V-Ray for
Oh, cool.
a long time, and then we switched to Corona. It's actually a funny story about that. I'm gonna show it. I'm gonna tell you really quick.
Yeah.
One of the artists in the studio suggested that we should change to Corona when the whole thing started.
Mm-hmm.
After we went to a meeting of people into the 3D world, and they showcased Corona, and he was very psyched about it, and he's like, let's change. So I was like, okay, let's do a small competition, you and me. I'll do it with V-Ray, you'll do it with Corona. If you can get a better result, you win the competition, and we'll switch the entire studio. And he didn't get a better result, but he got the same results. So it was like very, very close, and it was a lot more simpler to work with. So basically, he convinced me, and we changed the entire studio because of it.
How cool is that? Yeah, because I remember it was a little similar for me, because I mean, this was maybe 10 years ago when I had my studio. I was using Mental Ray initially.
Right.
I don't know if you even remember or know
Yeah, I
Mental
remember.
Ray. Man, and then for me, like when you're coming from Mental Ray, V-Ray seems like the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah,
And then Corona is even more straightforward than V-Ray. So I mean, it's the result, but it's also how easy it is to get the result and how easy it is to reproduce it time
for
and time
sure.
again.
Yeah, that's why Corona convinced us, because the result, it was very close to V-Ray, but it was much simpler. So for the artist, it's a lot better just to focus on the artistic part, and not the technical little things to make it not flicker or whatever. It's easy just to click a few buttons, and then you get whatever's on your mind in the computer. So that's what convinced us.
Yeah, yeah. And when you're working with clients, do you have a standard workflow that you have where maybe do you provide the final initially and then they provide notes, or do you provide a draft and then they give feedback, or it probably depends on project, or do you have a way that you prefer to work with clients when it comes to providing them the deliverables?
I mean, it varies from project to project, but usually what we do is, if we're talking about architecture, we do like a first draft, usually like a clay render with a lot
Mhm.
of different cameras, just for them to have a feeling of the project, and check about composition and what they really want to show. And from there, we go to the next step, where we put materials, lighting, and we send a first draft, just for them to look at the overall look and feel and composition, and yeah, once they check on that, we go to a second draft, and that's when usually it just looks pretty close to the final, and then they just give us a comments on whatever they may need us, change this plant or change this material. And usually, if we're lucky, that's the last step. Not always the case. Most of the time, it's not the case. But
Yep.
that I explained it like the perfect scenario, which almost never happens.
Yeah, yeah, and that was, oh my gosh, that was my experience too. And we actually, so we did a project for a furniture company as well, and the person that we were working with, we were also putting furniture into environments to kind of showcase it. And the person that we were working with came from a digital photography background.
Uh-huh.
So whenever she would, and she was the person in charge of reviewing the renders. So whenever she would review it, she would look at it from a digital photography perspective. So she would say, take this pillow and move it 2 inches to the left. Fluff up the pillow a little bit more. These like micro adjustments, and it would be like 4 or 5 rounds of these
Yeah,
like crazy micro adjustments. Have you
never
ever had?
ending.
Never ending.
Yes, the never-ending story always it happens. It's sometimes difficult to get in line with the client, because it's normal. They see the images and they're like, okay, it's almost perfect, but now I want to change, and then all of a sudden they're designing with the images, and
Yeah,
you know that could be forever because they can just keep changing things, and you have to try to manage them, like, please,
yeah,
the image is perfect, stop.
yeah, yeah,
Or
yeah,
at least give me all the comments together, because sometimes it happens, like you said, they send you 5 things. Okay, now you send them again the test, and they're like, now we have you
new
know
stuff.
new stuff, another 5 things, and then it could go on forever. So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, then you've got rendering, so then you're re-rendering, you know,
Yeah.
part or the entire image, which takes time. So I'm curious, and that was kind of what led me to real time. What led you to real time? Or how did you start to? What was your what led you to real time, and what's been your journey so far with it?
Uh-huh. Well, a couple of things. One, like you said, is rendering. Rendering times is, even though now with AI, everything is kind of changing, but a
Mm,
few years ago, it was like, okay, every change needs to re-render everything, especially if you work with animation like we do. Uh, you know, Render an entire animation takes a lot of time, and then sometimes something happens, a render farm blows up, and then you
yeah,
can't meet the deadline, and so it's sometimes a problem. So the real time uh, aspect of not rendering was something that really attracted me, and then also the added experience for the client. For us, it was like a uh, natural steps that we took from still images, animations, 360 tours, and then naturally the next step would be Unreal, where the client is actually like inside the apartment or inside any project, walking around, being able to customize things, change furniture. uh, for us, that experience alone was worth at least to look at it.
and was it something where the clients were asking for a more immersive, interactive experience, or was it where you saw the value in this technology and you introduced it to your clients and they said, yes, this is what we've been looking for? Um,
Mhm.
how did it
Well,
go?
it depends. Some clients started asking, can we have this customization part? I guess they started seeing it from other places, but then I think mostly it was from our side, seeing that we could offer something more, uh, and and that we could definitely do it. It was, I think that was the main motivation behind it. It's just knowing that we could offer something more, and it was really cool. Obviously, it's something that if you like 3D, you want to be a part of it. uh I guess what took us longer is just uh the learning curve, because learning real time is not okay, let's change their render engine and that's it. You have to
Yeah.
learn a new software and a new way of thinking, and
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. It's not just new software; it's a new way of thinking as well.
Mhm.
Um, and then, so how did you go, or how did you learn about Unreal? And did you consider others like Twinmotion or Unity, or how did you learn about Unreal, and why did you choose Unreal?
I guess it's just like every other software, where you're in this world, you if you really like it, you at some point you really want to touch everything, and then you
Mhm.
realize you can't. When at some point myself, I started dabbling with sculpting. So you have ZBrush and you have other similar, and you're like, why ZBrush? Why Unreal? I don't know. At that point, it felt like it was the most powerful tool. I've also looked into Twinmotion, D5. D5, I think, is very powerful.
Mhm.
We've actually been working on it in some smaller projects because I think it has some amazing applications, especially with the new AI tools they're having. Um, but I think it's something different for images and animation. I guess D5 could be something interesting, but Unreal just gives you the whole experience. It's for me, Unreal wouldn't be something that I would use for just to make images, but to make the whole interactive experience. I think it's probably the best one out there. They make games, they can even make movies with it. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And did you take it upon yourself to learn Unreal, or did you bring on an Unreal Engine expert, or how did you guys start using Unreal for projects?
Well, like I said, usually when something comes out, like, okay, we have to learn this new tool, let's learn it. Most of the time, we do it ourselves, and we ended
Cool.
up, learning it. And then from time to time, you get experience and you become better. With Unreal, it wasn't really like that. We tried it and we were like, wow, this is a completely different thing. So we had to bring somebody that actually knows how to do it,
Yeah.
uh, and yeah, start explaining it to us. But yeah, he's the main guy that knows how to do it, because it's a completely different software and way of thinking. And yeah, if you don't know what you're doing, it's, at least for me, it was very hard to see myself creating something of high quality. Maybe something that for myself, yeah, but something that you can sell high end. You have to know what you're doing, I think.
Yeah, I mean that was my experience too. I came from a Maya background, and then grabbed Unreal, and it was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what an actor is.
Right.
And yeah, and so I also ended up bringing on two experts, one developer and one artist, just to start to wrap my head around it and start using it for projects. Yeah, I mean the learning curve is kind of insane, but
Yeah.
that's cool that you guys now have it. It would be great if you had available any projects that you could maybe screen share, or anything that you've actually done in Unreal, and we can kind of take a look at it and talk about it a little bit. If you had any projects. Um,
Sure, I can show you. Let me see if I can share my screen. Just let me know if I shared it correctly.
yes, we can see it.
Okay. Okay, so I don't have any projects per se that I can show you, but we do have this in our website, like the demo version of what we've created, of the
Cool.
main step, or the main features that we like to show our clients. Um, Focus on architecture, of course.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, so basically here it's like the first step would be to step inside the apartment where we show uh, how you can actually move around like in a video game. If you come back from the video game background, you know how to move with a keyboard, uh, or even a gaming controller. You can just move around. And yeah, that alone to me, here you can zoom in and into objects, see the details. That alone to me is just something that even though I see it every day, it's just amazing to me to see that you can just walk around and move
Yeah.
things, and it's just great. And you can, if you can achieve it with a high realism, even better. And yeah, and then there's just different things here. It says design your space, and basically while you're inside, you can basically do anything. You can just change the furniture around. Here you can see how you can change the kitchen. We changed the entire furniture. You can change, yeah, the living room. Here the materials, different materials of the kitchen. So for a client's perspective, I think it's really great that they can, if they want to sell this apartment, let's say, they can show it to the clients. Here you can change the dining room, you can change the dining room material, the kitchen, the flooring, the bathroom towels, anything pretty much. Also, you can move around with a little plan over there, the little like AutoCAD plans. You can take pictures, you can save pictures. Basically, you have infinite renders of your
Right.
space.
Right.
So that's something that's really cool. And that's the interior part. Then in the exteriors, and stop me if I'm going too fast, or if you want to ask me something.
Sure.
But yeah, from the exterior part, you can see, you can show the project inside the neighborhood. So basically, you can put some hotspots like anywhere, so like to show the schools around, supermarkets, gas station, whatever it may be that you want to showcase, and you can just move around and see how close or how far you are from anywhere, which I think is really important when clients, in this case, want to buy an apartment. Here you can also put hotspots of the exterior amenities. In this case, the pool, the children's playground, the rooftop. And by the way, here you can click the hotspots. It takes you to them, but you can also move around if you want,
Nice.
just like in the interior. Yeah.
Nice.
And this is a pretty powerful tool. Not for every client, but if the client is trying, like a real estate developer, and they're trying to sell the apartments,
Right.
here you can filter pretty much anything, like availability, number of rooms, price, whatever it may be, actually. And after that, you can select them. You can have a gallery inside, see the floor plan, basically all the information about any apartment. And that's how you can, from the exterior, choose which one you like the most. Here's another option. From there, you can just select your apartment and see the 3D plan live. You can get closer,
Right.
see the furniture stuff. You can move the sun if you want to emulate different times of day. And yeah, so those are the main features we're offering for architecture. Obviously, you can do everything, or maybe you only want to do the interior or the exterior or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, this is obviously incredibly powerful, and it's clear that all this is sort of geared towards providing the end user experience, or providing the correct end user experience. So for example, if I'm a real estate developer, well, I'm eventually going to have to sell these apartments, and so it's going to make it a lot easier for people interested if they can see a physically accurate representation of their apartment, and they can filter it by price. I mean, that makes it so much easier for me to get the information that I need.
Exactly. Yeah, I think if I put myself in a buyer's shoes, it would be just amazing before I buy something, just so that I can compare. Just look where my future home is going to be. That's the first, and then the amenities, the anything, and how it's going to look inside, and how it's actually going to feel when I'm inside. It's not the same as an image, which obviously helps, but here you can actually be inside, move around, go to the bathroom, etc.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I'm also assuming, so in how you got into pixel streaming, or what was the reason for or how did pixel streaming kind of enter the conversation for you? What was the reason for that?
Okay, so as you know, Unreal Engine is an amazing software, but in order to use it, you have to have a very good computer, because this was basically intended for gaming. So once we create this experience, which is great, we have to be able to give it to the client. Usually, when in traditional way, you just send them the images or the animation, and that's fine. But with this, you have to be able to send them the package, and unless they have a very good computer for gaming, they won't be able to see it. So the solution is pixel streaming. You upload your projects into the web, and then from there on, the client only needs a good internet service, and that's it. They don't need a good computer. Any computer just with internet is going to work just as fine. So that was the main reason. Just having to being able to take that pressure off the client. For them just to be easy. We send them a link, they click, it opens, and it works.
Got it. And is it primarily being used right now for reviews with the client, or do you foresee that your client will also share the URL with their end users, for example, the buyers? How do you foresee it being accessed? Is it just by your client or the client's client, or what are your thoughts?
I think it will depend on the client. I think it could be where the client only sends the link, but I think probably what will work best is if they embed the project inside a website, which then they sell to the client, and then the client has their website with their product inside working. You know what I mean? Instead of just a link.
Right.
I think it looks a little bit more professional, and my thought would be that that's what they would go for. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's a little bit more professional, I think.
Awesome. Well, I mean, clearly you guys are doing some really beautiful and amazing work. And so thank you very much for stopping by and sharing your story and some of the projects that you're working on. We're already at the half hour. I know it goes by super, super quick. Is there anything you'd like to share with us before we sign off? Maybe anything about MIBI Studio, or how, if anyone wants to learn more, how to get in touch with you?
Well, thank you very much for having me. First of all, it really did go by fast. I was very nervous at first, because this is not something I usually do, but it was really easy and a nice conversation. If they want to get in touch, they can go to our website. It's mibi.studio. They can see our work. They can contact us. And yeah, I think that's it.
Awesome. Well, Santiago, thanks again for swinging by and for taking the time to share with us today. And thank you all for tuning in. I'm Quintin Anderson. This is Real Time Talk with Eagle 3D Streaming, and we will see you all on the next episode. All right. Bye, everyone.